You can do everything right during the day. Train hard, eat clean, get your protein in, and still lose muscle. Not because of your workout, not because of your diet, but because of what happens, or more importantly, doesn't happen while you sleep. This is one of the most frustrating and often overlooked truths in health science. The body doesn't grow during the workout. It grows during recovery. And the most powerful form of recovery isn't another supplement or massage gun, it's sleep. But here's the surprising part. One small, common sleep mistake is enough to block the release of your body's most anabolic hormone and severely impair muscle repair overnight. And most people, even athletes and health-conscious individuals, are making this mistake every night without realizing it. So what's the mistake? It's timing. Specifically, when you eat before sleep and how it shifts your entire hormonal environment, including growth hormone, testosterone, and muscle protein synthesis. In this episode, we're going to break down what happens in your brain and body during sleep that directly affects your ability to gain or lose muscle. And more importantly, we'll uncover the one mistake that disrupts this process, rooted in circadian rhythm disruption, insulin signaling, and the suppression of overnight growth hormone release. We'll explore why your brain is wired to support muscle growth, but only during specific windows of the sleep cycle. The real reason eating too close to bed destroys your body's regenerative processes, what the science says about growth hormone pulses and how to optimize them, how blue light, insulin spikes, and circadian misalignment combine to sabotage muscle recovery, what the research shows about time-restricted feeding and nighttime recovery, and most critically, the exact protocol you can use to fix it, when to stop eating, what to avoid, and how to align your sleep and nutrition schedule for maximum muscle gains. This isn't about biohacking your way to more biceps. It's about honoring the deep biological rhythms that govern how we repair, rebuild, and perform. If you're training hard, eating right, and still not seeing results, this could be the missing link. Let's get into the science behind it and the simple fix that could transform your strength, recovery, and longevity. You've probably heard that sleep is when the body recovers. But let's get specific. What's actually happening in your brain and body when you sleep that promotes muscle growth? The answer lies in stage 3 non-REM sleep, often called slow wave sleep or deep sleep. This is the most physically restorative phase of the sleep cycle, and it's when some of the most powerful anabolic processes kick in, particularly the release of growth hormone. Growth hormone, or GH, isn't just about height or adolescence. In adults, it plays a critical role in muscle tissue repair, collagen synthesis, fat metabolism, and even bone remodeling. And about 70% of our daily GH secretion occurs within the first few hours of sleep during deep NREM sleep. Here's what the research shows. Within the first 90 minutes of falling asleep, especially if your sleep onset is aligned with your circadian rhythm, your brain enters this deep sleep state and initiates a pulse of growth hormone. This pulse is large, intense, and essential for triggering muscle repair after training. A 1999 study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism demonstrated that this GH surge is almost entirely abolished if the early part of sleep is disrupted, either by sleep deprivation, stress, or hormonal interference like high insulin from a late night meal. To picture this, think of deep sleep as your body's biological rebuild window. Imagine you've spent the day doing construction, training hard, breaking down muscle fibers. Stage 3 sleep is when your repair crew shows up, with growth hormone as the foreman. But if this phase is shortened, delayed, or fragmented, it's like the crew never arrives or shows up late and leaves early. This is why athletes who don't get enough deep sleep, even if they sleep 7 to 8 hours total, often report slower recovery, more soreness, and stalled gains. And it's not just about sleep quantity. It's the quality and timing that matter most. But here's something fascinating. Deep sleep is front-loaded in the night. The earlier you go to bed, ideally aligned with your circadian rhythm around 10 p.m., the more deep sleep you'll get. Go to bed too late, say midnight or 1 a.m., and you'll likely reduce your deep sleep duration, regardless of how long you sleep in. So what does this mean for muscle growth? It means your training results are largely determined by what happens in the first 2-3 hours after you fall asleep. If you disrupt that window by eating too late, using screens, or going to bed at irregular hours, you miss out on the very biological mechanisms that make muscle recovery possible. A simple tool to apply is this: protect your first sleep cycle like it's sacred. Shut down screens, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bed, and wind down with a consistent routine. This primes your brain to enter deep sleep quickly and triggers that all-important GH pulse. Also consider tracking your deep sleep. Devices like the Oura Ring, Whoop, or even some smartwatches can give you a rough estimate of how much stage 3 sleep you're getting and how that correlates with your recovery, soreness, and energy levels the next day. Have you ever noticed that after a bad night's sleep, your muscles feel flat, sore, or unresponsive? That's not just fatigue, it's a missed window of regeneration. If you want to build a stronger, more resilient body, especially after 30, when natural GH production starts to decline, protecting your deep sleep is not optional. It's a cornerstone of long-term performance. And in the next section, we'll reveal the most common mistake that kills this growth hormone surge, and it has everything to do with what's on your plate before bed. Let's talk about one of the most common and most overlooked habits that quietly sabotages your muscle gains: eating too close to bedtime. At first glance, this might not seem like a big deal. After all, food gives you fuel, and if you've trained hard, a little extra protein or carbs before sleep might sound like a good idea. But here's the problem. When you eat late, especially within 1 to 2 hours of going to bed, you blunt one of the most powerful biological triggers for muscle growth, the nighttime pulse of growth hormone. Here's what's happening in your body. When you eat, especially foods that contain carbohydrates or protein, your blood glucose levels rise. In response, your pancreas secretes insulin, a hormone that helps shuttle glucose and amino acids into your cells. That part is fine during the day, but at night, insulin does something problematic. It directly suppresses the release of growth hormone. A study published in Hormone Research in Pediatrics showed that elevated insulin levels can dampen the amplitude of GH pulses, especially the crucial early night surge that happens during deep sleep. Other research in the Journal of Clinical Investigation confirms this effect. Late night insulin spikes flatten the GH curve, robbing you of one of the key hormonal drivers of overnight muscle repair. Think of growth hormone like the signal that tells your body, now's the time to rebuild. If insulin is still high when you fall asleep, it's like static on the line. Your body can't hear the message. It's not just about missing a single GH pulse. Repeatedly suppressing that nighttime release means that over time, your muscle protein synthesis rate drops, your fat metabolism slows, and your overall recovery lags behind your training. You're working hard in the gym, but your body isn't completing the repair process effectively. Now, to be clear, we're not saying don't eat at night ever. What matters is timing and composition. Here's a simple protocol based on the research. Stop eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. This gives your insulin levels time to return to baseline before your brain enters deep sleep. If you need a light evening meal, make it low in simple carbohydrates and moderate in protein and fat. Think something like eggs and sautéed greens or a piece of salmon with steamed broccoli. Avoid high glycemic foods like sugary snacks, bread, pasta, or cereal in the evening. These trigger a larger insulin spike and a deeper suppression of GH. And if you're actively training or trying to gain mass, front load more of your calories earlier in the day when your insulin sensitivity is higher and the interference with sleep hormones is lower. Have you ever felt groggy after a late night meal or noticed your sleep feels more restless? That's your body struggling to balance digestion with recovery, two processes that compete for resources. And if this insight is helping you, if you're realizing how one simple shift in your routine can unlock better sleep and faster muscle recovery, consider subscribing. We're building a science-first space for people like you, people who want to optimize their mind and body using real tools grounded in real research. Because when you stop eating late and align your meal timing with your biology, you're not just helping your muscles recover. You're allowing your entire endocrine system to function more effectively. Testosterone, IGF-1, melatonin, all these hormones work better when insulin is low at night. Now, we're going to zoom out even further because it's not just what or when you eat, it's how your internal clock controls your muscle recovery. And you might be surprised how much your results depend on something as simple as sleep timing. Imagine if you had a coach who designed your entire 24-hour schedule, when to eat, when to train, and when to recover, all perfectly calibrated to maximize your physical performance. The truth is, you already have that coach built into your biology. It's called your circadian rhythm. And when it's out of sync, your muscle growth suffers, even if your workouts and nutrition are on point. Here's the science. Your circadian clock is a system of genes and proteins that regulate nearly every biological process on a roughly 24-hour cycle. That includes hormone secretion, muscle repair, protein synthesis, and even the sensitivity of your tissues to exercise and nutrition. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, in the hypothalamus is the master clock. It syncs with environmental cues like light and darkness to regulate when you feel alert, sleepy, or hungry. But here's where it gets fascinating. Your muscles also have their own clocks, peripheral oscillators that operate semi-independently and are influenced by factors like exercise and food timing. Now, if you're staying up late, sleeping irregularly, or training at wildly inconsistent times, those clocks get out of sync. And when that happens, your body sends mixed signals to your tissues. Growth hormone, testosterone, and protein synthesizing enzymes don't peak at the right time. Your muscle cells are no longer in a ready state for repair. Over time, this erodes the anabolic environment your training is supposed to create. One study published in Cell Reports found that disrupting circadian rhythm in mice by shifting their light-dark exposure led to muscle loss despite identical diets and activity levels. The muscles simply couldn't regenerate properly because the repair signals were mistimed. So, what can you do? Here's a circadian-aligned recovery protocol based on the science. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. This consistency anchors your hormonal cycles. Aim for sleep between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. This is when your body naturally maximizes GH release, testosterone production, and melatonin cycling, all crucial for muscular recovery. Avoid bright artificial light after 8 to 9 p.m. Light suppresses melatonin, which throws off your repair cycles. Dim the lights, use blue light blockers, or switch to warmer tones. If you train in the evening, finish your workout at least 3 hours before bed. Late night exercise elevates core temperature and adrenaline, both of which can delay sleep onset and blunt the early GH pulse. Get morning sunlight exposure within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. This locks your biological clock to the Earth's 24-hour rhythm, enhancing everything from alertness during the day to deep sleep at night. Have you ever noticed that when your sleep schedule is erratic, your strength plateaus, or your joints feel achier? That's not just lack of rest, it's misaligned biology. Your muscle cells can't do their job properly if your circadian timing is scrambled. And the encouraging news? This is 100% within your control. You don't need a supplement, a new workout plan, or a fancy recovery device. You just need to respect your biological clock, the most powerful performance tool you already have. If this is resonating with you, if you're starting to see how powerful rhythm and timing are to your health, hit the like button. It helps signal to the algorithm that this content matter. More importantly, it helps us grow a community committed to evidence-based optimization, not hacks or hype. Now we'll explore a critical but overlooked part of the sleep-muscle connection, deep sleep, and how your nervous system shifts into a state where muscle repair can actually occur. Most people are unaware of this, but the way you enter and sustain deep sleep and how fast you get there may determine how much muscle you keep or lose each night. When people think about building muscle, they often focus on what happens in the gym, lifting heavier weights, pushing harder sets, maximizing volume. But the truth is, your muscles don't grow when you train. They grow when you sleep. More specifically, during deep sleep, the one phase of sleep that turns on the body's full recovery mode. And yet, this is the stage most vulnerable to disruption, especially by one silent, pervasive mistake: fragmented sleep. Let's break it down. Sleep is composed of several stages that cycle roughly every 90 minutes. The first few cycles of the night are dominated by slow wave sleep, also known as deep non-REM sleep. This is when growth hormone, GH, is released in its highest pulses. When muscle tissue is repaired and when inflammation is suppressed, think of it as your biological night crew, quietly rebuilding the damage of the day. But here's the catch. The body needs to enter deep sleep quickly and stay there uninterrupted for those hormonal cascades to occur. If you wake up multiple times during the night, even briefly, the body may not re-enter deep sleep easily. This means you're missing the anabolic window even if you technically slept for 7 or 8 hours. This is why someone can get 8 hours in bed but still wake up feeling sore, foggy, and under-recovered. Their sleep was shallow, fragmented, or poorly timed, and their muscles paid the price. Research from the University of Chicago has shown that just 3 nights of disrupted deep sleep reduces insulin sensitivity and lowers testosterone levels in young, healthy men. Another study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that fragmented sleep cut nighttime growth hormone release in half, a devastating blow to anyone trying to maintain or build muscle mass. So what causes this silent disruption? Common culprits include caffeine. Too late in the day, even if you fall asleep, caffeine blocks adenosine and reduces slow wave activity. Alcohol in the evening, it sedates but then rebounds later, fragmenting deep sleep cycles. Late night screen time. Artificial light suppresses melatonin and delays the onset of deep sleep. Stress and rumination, elevated cortisol makes it harder to transition into non-REM sleep and increases nighttime awakenings. The solution, create what I call a deep sleep window, a protected 90-minute zone at the start of your night where the body can enter full recovery mode. Here's how. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m., even if you're not sensitive. Caffeine has a half-life of 6 to 8 hours and can block deep sleep architecture. Don't drink alcohol within 3 hours of bed. If you do, hydrate heavily and prioritize magnesium and electrolytes to help offset the rebound effect. Use a wind-down ritual. About 60 to 90 minutes before bed, dim your lights, put away screens, and engage in something that lowers sympathetic arousal. Reading, stretching, journaling, or even a hot shower. Try non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, earlier in the day. Techniques like yoga nidra or a 10-minute body scan can train the brain to enter deeper states at night. Track your deep sleep. If possible, use a wearable that gives insight into your sleep stages. While not perfectly accurate, trends can help you identify when something's working or not. Let me ask you, when was the last time you truly felt restored in the morning? Not just slept, but repaired. That deep, almost cellular sense that your body had done something essential during the night, that's deep sleep. That's the anabolic window. And when it's missing, no supplement or extra workout can make up for it. In the next section, we'll look at how your nervous system, specifically your autonomic state at bedtime, determines whether you can even enter deep sleep in the first place. We'll explore the science of stress, vagal tone, and practical ways to shift from fight or flight into rest and rebuild mode, especially for people who struggle to fall or stay asleep. You might think the most important part of your nighttime routine is what you do, the supplements you take, the time you go to bed, the temperature of the room. But beneath all of that, there's something more foundational, something that can make or break your ability to fall asleep, stay asleep, and enter the deep recovery states your muscles need. It's the state of your nervous system at the moment you go to bed. Let's unpack what that really means. Your body operates under the guidance of the autonomic nervous system, which has two primary branches. The sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight mode. This is where your heart rate speeds up, cortisol rises, and your body stays alert to potential threats. The parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digests mode. This is where the body heals, digests, and critically enters sleep. Now here's what's key. You cannot enter deep restorative sleep if your body is stuck in a sympathetic state, even if you're exhausted, even if you've been in bed for hours. What happens when you try? You might toss and turn. You may fall asleep but wake up after 90 minutes, or you get sleep that feels light and unrefreshing and your muscles don't recover. Think about this. Have you ever gone to bed after a stressful day or with your mind racing and woke up feeling more tired than the day before? That's sympathetic dominance at work. The good news is there are tools, powerful, science-backed tools to shift your body from that wired, anxious state into a deeply relaxed, sleep-permissive state. Tools that regulate vagal tone. The strength and flexibility of your parasympathetic system, governed largely by the vagus nerve. Here's what the research shows. A 2018 study published in Frontiers in Neuroscience found that slow, diaphragmatic breathing before bed significantly increased parasympathetic activity and improved sleep quality. HRV training, heart rate variability, often using apps like Whoop, Aura, or HRV4 training, correlates strongly with better nervous system recovery and deeper sleep stages. Even a simple gratitude practice, according to a 2009 study in Journal of Psychosomatic Research, was linked with better sleep onset and quality by reducing pre-sleep arousal. So how do you apply this? Here's a simple protocol to downshift your nervous system and open the door to true anabolic sleep. Per Yoga Nidra, 10 to 20 minutes pre-bed, lie down and follow a guided session that walks you through body scanning and breath awareness. This mimics early sleep waves and downshifts cortical activity. Breathe in deeply through the nose, then take a second shorter inhale, slowly exhale through the mouth. This technique, studied by me and colleagues, quickly reduces sympathetic arousal and brings the body toward parasympathetic dominance. Box breathing, 4-4, 4-4, 4-4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, repeat for 5 minutes. This pattern is used by Navy SEALs to manage stress and by sleep researchers to induce vagal activation. Cold to warm contrast, optional depression. If you shower before bed, end with 30 seconds of cold water, then finish. The cold stimulates the vagus nerve, the warmth triggers relaxation. This combination primes the body for sleep. Limit emotional stimulation. Avoid triggering news, intense conversations, or work emails 1 to 2 hours before bed. Even a heated text exchange can spike cortisol and block melatonin release. Here's a framing question to reflect on. Are you giving your nervous system the signal that it's safe to rest? Or are you unconsciously telling it to stay alert? Your muscles, your hormones, your cognition, they're all waiting for that signal. Without it, you're trying to heal and grow in a state that tells your body, stay ready to run. Now, we'll bring this all together by revealing one of the most misunderstood but powerful drivers of overnight muscle repair: circadian rhythm alignment. This is where timing becomes everything. You'll learn when to eat, when to train, and exactly when your body wants to sleep based on your biology, not just your schedule. You can train hard, eat enough protein, and even get a full 8 hours of sleep. But if your circadian rhythm your internal biological clock is out of sync, you'll still rob yourself of the deep muscle regeneration your body is designed for. This is one of the most overlooked truths in recovery science. The timing of your behaviors is just as important as the behaviors themselves. Let's get specific. Your circadian rhythm is governed by a region in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, a small cluster of neurons in the hypothalamus. This master clock synchronizes countless processes: hormone release, core body temperature, digestion, alertness, and critically, sleep stages and tissue repair. Here's what the research shows. Melatonin, the hormone that signals darkness and triggers sleep, rises naturally in the evening in response to dim light. But exposure to artificial light, especially blue light from screens, can delay melatonin onset by hours. A 2015 study in PNAS found that using e-readers before bed reduced melatonin by over 50% and delayed circadian timing by more than an hour. Growth hormone, one of your primary muscle repairing agents, is secreted in the first third of the night, but only if you're in slow wave, deep sleep. That deep sleep is cued by circadian alignment. Disrupt it, and you suppress one of the most anabolic events in your 24-hour cycle. A 2021 review in Nature Reviews Endocrinology emphasized that circadian misalignment, even by 1 to 2 hours, impairs glucose metabolism, increases cortisol levels, and disrupts protein synthesis. So what does this mean practically? It means if you're regularly going to bed at midnight or 1 a.m., scrolling your phone in bright light and eating large meals late into the night, you're disrupting the exact hormonal rhythm your muscles depend on to grow. You may be asleep, but you're not aligned, and your body knows the difference. Here is a tool-based protocol to realign your circadian rhythm and restore your recovery switch. Get bright light early, 0 to 30 minutes of waking, and expose your eyes to natural light for at least 5 to 10 minutes, longer if overcast. This anchors your SCN and signals when your body should start and end its day. Dim light environment 1 to 2 hours before bed. Use warm, dim lighting in the evening, avoid screens, or use blue light filters. Consider wearing blue locking glasses to preserve melatonin production. Consistent wake-up time, waking up at the same time anchors your circadian rhythm even more powerfully than when you go to sleep. This predictability trains your body to anticipate rest, release hormones, and initiate repair at the right times. Eat protein and complex carbs 3 to 4 hours before bed. This supports serotonin and melatonin synthesis, as well as overnight muscle repair. Avoid heavy meals too close to bedtime. Digestion competes with slow wave sleep. Avoid late night intense workouts. Training too late elevates cortisol and delays sleep drive. If evening is your only window, prioritize lower intensity movement like mobility or light resistance work, and ensure post-workout recovery habits are dialed in. Create a wind down ritual. At the same time each night, initiate the same 3 to 5 steps. Maybe it's journaling, stretching, chamomile tea, and NSTR. The brain craves pattern. This pattern becomes a cue for parasympathetic dominance and melatonin release. Here's the guiding principle. When you align your behaviors with your body's internal clock, you're not just sleeping, you're syncing. And syncing is what unlocks growth. So ask yourself, am I working with my biology or fighting against it? You don't need to overhaul your life overnight, but small, consistent adjustments, earlier light exposure, consistent sleep and wake times, dimmer evenings, can radically improve your overnight recovery. Now, we'll pull everything together. You'll get a clear summary of what we've covered, a reminder of why this matters, and a challenge. One tool to implement today that can change the way your body sleeps, heals, and grows. So let's bring everything together. We began with a simple but powerful idea. Your muscles don't grow in the gym. They grow at night while you sleep. And yet millions of people are unknowingly sabotaging that critical process by making one mistake, assuming that just being unconscious for 7 to 8 hours is enough. It's not, because the quality, timing, and neurochemical environment of your sleep determine whether your body enters an anabolic, growth-driven state or remains stuck in a loop of partial recovery. Here's what the science showed us. You need deep sleep for muscle growth, and deep sleep depends on consistent timing, low stress, and proper light exposure. Miss that window, and you miss the biggest surge of growth hormone your body releases. Sleep debt builds like compound interest. One bad night leads to a 10 to 20% drop in testosterone, a rise in cortisol, and poorer muscle protein synthesis. And those effects accumulate day after day. Late night eating shifts your circadian rhythm. Especially if it's high in fat or sugar, your body prioritizes digestion, not repair. A physiological tug of war that suppresses deep sleep. Alcohol, even in moderate amounts, fragments your sleep architecture. You may fall asleep faster, but your REM sleep and slow wave recovery phases get shattered, and your nervous system wakes up more inflamed and less anabolic. Your mental state shapes your physical recovery. Elevated nighttime cortisol, driven by stress, scrolling, or unresolved tension, blocks growth pathways and promotes catabolic muscle breakdown. The circadian rhythm is your recovery switch. When you align light, food, and behavior to your internal clock, your body responds with optimal hormone timing, deeper rest, and greater muscle retention. Now, here's the empowering part. Every one of these is modifiable. These are not genetic limits, they are behavioral levers, and you control them. So the question becomes, what's one small change you can make tonight to move toward better recovery? Maybe it's dimming your lights an hour earlier. Maybe it's skipping that glass of wine. Maybe it's stepping outside first thing tomorrow morning to reset your clock. Or finally making your wind down routine a non-negotiable habit. Pick one. Start there. Your body is incredibly responsive, especially when you give it what it's biologically wired to receive. Even if you've made it this far, chances are you care deeply about optimizing your body, your mind, and your long-term health. And if this information helped you, even sparked a shift in perspective, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your biggest takeaway in the comments. This community is about growth, not just muscle growth, and that starts with understanding how your biology works, then using that knowledge to build better habits, stronger routines, and a more resilient, energized self. I'll leave you with this challenge. Tonight, protect your sleep like it's your workout, because in a very real sense, it is. It's the invisible training session that transforms effort into progress. Thanks for being here. Stay consistent, stay curious. And I'll see you in the next one.